Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week, and if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. In today's tutorial, we're making a puff sleeve crop top where Regal meets trendy for a quick and easy make. Speaking of, in the mood for smaller weekend projects, you're in luck. We have hundreds of small, easy to follow crochet tutorials and patterns with even more dropping twice weekly, so consider clicking the bell to subscribe and you'll never miss an upload. Also, do me a huge favor and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it, or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it's a great way to show support so I can keep putting out free tutorials every Wednesday and Sunday. Now, it's time to get on the show, so without further ado. For this project, any category 4 yarn will work, but I used a total of 285 grams of yarn. That's 505 yards if you're stateside. As for tools, a 5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order, and enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us your go-to comfort movie. Shrek would be mine. Details for the giveaway down below. We're using 4 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, and double crochet. This tutorial is made for a size small. You can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video. So let's get started. Getting this top started, we're all going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Then we're all going to grab our 5mm hook. Now we're all going to get started with our cup, so it's going to start off the same for every size, no matter what size we're making. We're all going to start with a chain 1. Once we have that chain 1, we're going to block off that chain 1, then do a chain 2. That chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. Then into that chain that we blocked off, or the third chain from our hook, we're all going to insert with 5 half double crochets. So yarn over, into that first chain, or into that chain that we blocked off, we're going to insert, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3. That is our first half double crochet. We're going to be doing 4 more for a total of 5. So yarn over, into that same chain with a second half double, same chain with a third half double, same chain with a fourth, and same chain with a fifth for a total of 5 stitches for the end of our row 1. Then what we're going to do from here is chain 1, flip our work, and do our Suzette stitches till we have 2 stitches left. So how we all do a Suzette stitch is just 1 single and 1 double crochet into 1 stitch. So getting started, into that first stitch, start with 1 single crochet, then into that same first stitch with a double crochet. So pull through 2, pull through 2, and that is our first Suzette stitch set. Let's do another one. So after we finish up a Suzette stitch set, that following stitch will always be skipped because that double crochet actually counts as that stitch. If we work into that stitch, we'll accidentally be increasing. So what we're going to do is skip that following stitch and into the next with another single and double crochet. Now so far for this row, we should have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches, but we should have 2 stitches left from our previous row. So since this is an even number row, we're going to increase into that last stitch with an increase of 3 half doubles. So yarn over. We're going to skip that following stitch, which is our second to last. Into that last, insert with 3 half double crochets. So insert, pull through 3. Same last stitch with a second half double. Same last stitch with a third half double crochet. Now everyone's row 2 is complete. We should all have a total of 7 stitches. Now when it comes to doing our odd number row, we are not going to be doing any increases or decreases. So from here, simply chain 1, flip our work, and do our Suzette stitches till we have 2 stitches left. Just to do the first one, into that first stitch, insert, starting with 1 half double crochet, into that same first stitch with 1 double crochet. Then from here, skip 1 stitch, Suzette stitch set into the next, and continue that till we have 2 stitches left. So we've made our way down with our row 3. We aren't going to be doing any increases or decreases into our odd number rows, so simply yarn over and half double crochet into that last stitch. So skip that second to last, and into the last, insert with 1 half double. Now for everyone's row 3, we should all still have 7 stitches. Now it's going to be a repeat of our 2 previous rows, so let's just do the following 2 rows together to make sure we all have it down. From here, chain 1 and flip. Into that first stitch, insert with our first Suzette stitch set. So into that top of that half double from our previous row, 1 single, 1 double, skip 1 stitch, Suzette stitch set into that following. We're going to continue this till we all have 2 stitches left, and just as a really quick tip, every Suzette stitch set is going to be worked into our previous row's single crochet stitch to get the texture that we want. We are now at the end of our row 4, so what we're going to do is skip that following stitch into the next, which is the last, an increase of 3 half double crochets. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Now just to get started on our row 5, chain 1, flip our work, do our Suzette stitch sets all the way down till we have 2 stitches left. We're now at the end of our row 5. We should all have 2 stitches left, so all we're going to do is half double crochet into that last stitch. And that's it. From here, we're going to continue to repeat our 2 previous rows until our work can stretch from mid-chest, making sure that this tail end stays at mid-chest, all the way over to where you like for your strap to be, so roughly where a bra strap or a tank top strap would lay. I'll meet you guys back right after an odd number row, and then we can get started on the underarm together from there. So we are back. The first half of my cup is complete. Now I have a total of 15 rows. My width is roughly 5.5 inches or 13 centimeters. This height is just about 5 inches or 12 centimeters. Now we're going to get started on our underarm. So since we all should have ended along the bottom, what we're going to do is chain 1, flip our work. Do our same Suzette stitches that we've been doing all the way up, now leaving the last 4 stitches because we're going to do our underarm. But before I meet you guys back, we do want to make sure that we're inserting a stitch marker into the top of that last row for our cup, just so we know where the underarm is about to start. So we are back. We've made our way all the way up, leaving the last 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. Now we're going to do our decrease. So that's going to be fairly simple. What we're going to do is yarn over, skip that following stitch, and into the next, which is our third to last, insert, pull through, into that next stitch, which is our second to last, pull through, and into our last, pull through for a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on our hook. Then yarn over, pull through the first 4, yarn over, then pull through 2, and that is a decrease of 3 double crochets. And now for every even number row, we still aren't going to have any increases or decreases. So what we're going to do is chain 1, flip our work, do our same Suzette stitches all the way down, closing off the row with just 1 half double crochet into that last stitch. Then just to do our decrease row together once more, chain 1, flip our work, Suzette stitch down, leaving the last 4 stitches, and then I'll meet you back again. We are back, and our third underarm row is nearly complete. We should have all left the last 4 stitches. Now we're going to do another decrease of 3 double crochets. So yarn over, skip that following stitch, into the next, insert pull through, next, pull through, and next, which should be our last, pull through for a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 4, leaving us with 2, then yarn over, pull through 2. Now as a quick tip, every decrease row should leave us with 2 less stitches than our previous row. Then like I said, every odd number row isn't going to have any increases or decreases. So chain 1, flip our work, Suzette stitch all the way down, closing off the row with just 1 half double crochet into that last stitch. Then continue to repeat those 2 previous rows until we now have a portion that can reach from mid-chest all the way over to mid-underarm. Then I'll meet you back right after an even number row, right after we do a chain up 1 and cut. We are back. One of our cups are completed. I have a total of 20 rows. This width is roughly 7.5 inches or 19 centimeters. Once we have one completed, we're going to make a second one that is exactly the same. Then once we have both of our cups completed, we can get started with the back panel. So, as you guys can see, both my cups are completed, so I'm going to get started on the back panel with you. But my back panel is nearly finished. I'm just going to be doing a small sample size with you. So what we're all going to want to do is start by making a chain for the same amount of stitches that we have for our last underarm row. For those of you that have my numbers, I have a total of 13 stitches here. So for my back panel, I'm going to start by making a chain 13. So now that we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain and do a chain 1. Into that chain that we blocked off with the third chain from our hook, insert with our first Suzette stitch set. So inserting into that blocked off chain with just 1 single crochet, then into that same chain with a double crochet. We're going to continue on with our Suzette stitch sets, making our way all the way down, leaving the last 2 chains. We've made our way down with our row 1, leaving the last 2 chains. Now that we're at the end of our odd number row, we're going to do an increase of 3 half doubles. So yarn over, skip that following chain into the next with 3 half double crochets. So there's 1, same chain with a second, same chain with a third. Now at the end of our row 1, we should have 2 more stitches than chains made, and every even number row isn't going to have any increases or decreases. So chain 1, flip our work, do our Suzette stitches all the way down, closing off the row with just 1 half double crochet into that last stitch. Our first 2 rows are complete. From here, it's going to be a repeat of these 2 previous rows for the same amount of underarm rows that we have for our front panel. So for those of you that have my numbers, I have a total of 5 underarm rows. So I'll be doing a total of 5 rows, and then I'll meet you guys back to get started on the width of our back panel. Now once we have our underarm portion complete, what we're going to do is make an even number row that reaches the top of our shoulder. Now as you guys can see, I already have this portion completed, so I'm just going to talk you guys through it really quickly. We want to make sure that we're keeping the bottom of this piece right at our underbust, because that's where the bottom band for this design is going to be. Then making sure that we're making an even number chain that reaches the top of our shoulder. Now I've already measured mine out. I needed roughly 6.5 inches or 17 centimeters, so I went ahead and made a chain 26. And we're just going to continue to repeat our Suzette stitch row until we have a portion that can stretch across our back, roughly to where the point of our other cup is, because we do want this strap and our sleeve to be straight up and down. So using my sample size, I'm just going to get started on the chain and the following row with you, and then I'll meet you back. So again, using my sample size, once we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain and do a chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. Then into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, insert with our first Suzette stitch set, so a single and a double crochet, then continue on with our Suzette stitch sets into our chain and into the body of our work. When we have 2 stitches left, close off the row with 1 half double crochet into that last stitch. Then just continue to repeat that row until we have the body width that we need. Then I will meet you guys back right after an even number row or along the bottom to finish up our underarm together from there. So we are back, and the width of our back panel is complete. Now I have a total of 34 rows. This width is roughly 11 inches or 28 centimeters. Now we're going to finish this off with our underarm portion. Now this underarm portion is going to be done pretty much the same way as the front panel. So just to get it started, what we're going to start by doing is insert our stitch marker into the same amount of chains that we made that led all the way up to our shoulders. So for me that was 26. So on this side, from the top, I counted down 26 and inserted my stitch marker. Then just to get started on the following row, chain 1, flip our work, do our same Suzette stitches, making our way all the way up, leaving 4 stitches right before our stitch marker. So we've made our way all the way up with our first underarm row, leaving 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches right before our stitch marker. Now we're just going to do a decrease of 3 double crochets, so yarn over, skip that following stitch into the third to last, pull through, second to last, pull through, last, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 4, yarn over, pull through 2. From here, our following row is going to be a Suzette stitch row with no increases and no decreases. Then just continue to repeat those 2 rows until we have the same amount of rows as our other underarm portions. When we do a chain of 1 and cut, and I'll meet you back. So we are back. We have just completed the entirety of our back panel. Now my total width is roughly 12.5 inches or 32 centimeters. Now from here, we're going to seam up the sides together. So go ahead and grab one of your cups and place it on top of your back panel. Insert your hook into the bottom corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. Insert your yarn onto your hook, pull through, and do a chain up of 1 to secure. Then all we're going to do is put 1 single crochet in through both the front and the back panel at the same time. So finding the first stitch into the front panel, insert your hook. First stitch into the back panel, insert your hook, and single crochet everything together. Again, next stitch into the front, insert, next stitch into the back, insert, and single, and just continue doing this, making our way all the way up. When we don't have any more stitches left to work into, do a chain of 1 and cut, repeat on the other side, and I'll meet you back. So we are back. We have just completed seaming all of our panels together. Now from here, we're going to get started on our sleeve, but right before we get started, we are going to want to tie our 2 front cups together. So that part is going to be fairly simple. Just take our 2 tail ends and tie them firmly together using a double knot, whatever technique you guys want, just to make sure that everything is fits. Go ahead and try this on, making sure that everything is still fitting nicely. But once we have this, we can get started on our cup. So when everything is all tied up, getting started on our sleeve, we're all going to make sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up. Then we're going to insert our hook into the stitch that we have that's nearest to our side seam within the armhole. Then what we're all going to do from here is alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row, working our way up our underarm. Now it is going to be a little bit different whether if you guys are working on the right or the left hand side, but the idea is going to be generally the same. Into every side row, like I said, alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row. Then if we're working into the front first, once we're worked into the side row that's right before a stitch marker stitch, we're then going to make a chain for the same amount of chains that we made that led up to our shoulder when we were doing our back panel. So for me, that would be a chain of 26. If you guys are working towards the back first, you're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every stitch. Then once we reach the top corner, we're going to make the same chain that we made that led up to the shoulder for the back panel, so 26. So what I'm going to do from here is work my way up my underarm portion, making sure that I'm stopping into the side row that's right before my stitch marker stitch, and then I'll meet you back. So we've just made our way up our underarm portion. We're worked into our side row that's right before our stitch marker. Then from here, like I said, we're all going to make a chain, since I'm working into my front panel first, make a chain for the same amount of chains that we made for the back panel that led up to the shoulder. So for me, that was a chain of 26. Once we have our chain 26, we're going to single crochet it into the top corner stitch of the back panel and work our way down our back. So the single crochet that we're about to do into the top corner stitch will count as a stitch and our connection. But before we do that, we do want to make sure that we're inserting a stitch marker into that last chain, just so we know where the 2 middle stitches are. There's that stitch marker. Go ahead and single crochet into this top corner stitch of the back panel. So into that top corner stitch, insert with a single crochet. I am going to insert a stitch marker into there as well, so I know where that middle stitch is. Then from here, continue with 1 single crochet into every stitch, alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row, and I'll meet you back at the end of the row. We've just made our way around with our single crochet row, and now we're going to get started on our sleeve. So first things first, right after we've slip stitched into that chain space, we're going to make sure the work is still flipped right side out, right side up. Then we're all going to start by making an odd number chain the length that we'd like for the sleeve to be, keeping in mind that it will be a puff sleeve as well. Now I'd like for mine to be just about 1 inch or 2 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 5. So now that we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain and do a chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. Then into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to insert with our first Suzette stitch set. Then from here, just continue to do our Suzette stitch set the same way that we did for the body, leaving the last 2 chains. So now that we've made our way down, leaving the last 2 chains, we're now going to close off the row with an increase of 3 half double crochets. So yarn over. Into that last chain, insert with 3 half double crochets. Now once we have our 3 half double crochets completed, we're then going to slip stitch it into the base. So the base is going to be the single crochet row that we just did together, and all we're going to do is find that next available stitch and slip stitch it into there. Now that slip stitch into the base doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then we need to work our way up to the following row as well, so slip stitch into that following stitch into the base, flip our work, and now we're going to do our Suzette stitch row with no increases and no decreases. So Suzette stitch all the way down, closing off the row with just 1 half double crochet into that last stitch. Then just to do the connection into the base together again, at the end of that row, chain 1, flip our work, do our Suzette stitch row back towards the base, remembering to close off the row with an increase of 3 half double crochets, and then I'll meet you back to close off that row. We are back, and we are now at the end of our row 3. Now we did close off the end of our row 3 with an increase of 3 half double crochets. Now we're going to slip stitch it into the base together. So just finding that next available stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch to close off the row and to connect. Remember that slip stitch doesn't actually count as a stitch. Then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that next available stitch into the base, flip our work, and repeat. So just as a refresher, we are closing off every odd number row with an increase of 3 back loop half doubles, and every even number row won't have any increases or decreases. We're going to continue to repeat these 2 previous rows until we're worked into our stitch marker stitch. And if you guys are working into the chains, it will be a little difficult and it will look a little bit wonky, but it will be fixed once when we continue on with the piece. Go ahead and make your way up, and then I'll meet you back once we reach our stitch marker. Alright, so we are back. We've made our way all the way up until we're worked into our stitch marker stitch with our increased side. Now from here, we're going to be doing our decrease side, which is pretty much the same way that we did this side, but instead of increases, decreases. So just to get the following row started together, since we all should have ended into the base, we're going to slip stitch into that following stitch and work your way out the same way that we normally would. So no increases and no decreases. Then at the end of that row, chain 1, flip or work your way back with our Suzette stitches, leaving the last 4 stitches, and I'll meet you back. So we are back. We've made our way out with our Suzette stitch row and also made our way back in with our Suzette stitch row, leaving the last 4 stitches. And we're going to do the same decrease that we did for the front panel. So all we're going to do is yarn over. We're going to skip that following stitch and into the next, pull through, next stitch, pull through, and next stitch, which should be the last, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 4 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we're going to connect it into the base the same way that we've been doing this entire time. So just into that next available stitch, insert with a slip stitch. Remember that slip stitch doesn't actually count as a stitch. Then from here, it's going to be a repeat of those 2 previous rows till we don't have any more stitches left to work into. When we don't, I'll meet you back so we can seam everything up together. So we are back. We've just made our way all the way around with the decrease side of our sleeve. Now what we're all going to do from here is seam it up. And this seam is going to be done exactly the same way as our side seam, so let's just talk you guys through it. We're all going to start by making sure the work is flipped wrong side out, then we're going to do the same single crochet seam. Once we have that completed, we're going to do a chain up 1 and cut, and then we can get started on the cuff. So when that's completed, we're going to insert our hook into any one of the side rows along the edge of our sleeve, and we're all going to start with a single crochet row. We're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and start with a chain up of 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then from here, we're just going to be putting 1 single crochet into every other side row to help us get it to cinch. So start by finding our first side row. This is mine right here. So I'm going to find that top loop and start with just 1 single crochet. We're going to be skipping over our following side row and into that next side row. Find that top loop and insert with 1 single crochet again. Let's do that again. This is my next side row. We're going to skip over that and single crochet into the next. We're going to continue doing this, making our way all the way around. Our single crochet row is complete. Now from here, right after we've slip stitched into that chain space, we're all going to make a chain the length that we'd like for our cuff to be. Now I'd like for mine to be just about 1 inch or 2 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making chain 5. Now once we have our chain, block off that last chain and do a chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. Then into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to insert with a slip stitch. So insert your hook, yarn over, and gently pull through everything on our hook. We want to make sure that we're not tugging too tightly, otherwise the following row will be too tight to work into. But from here, just continue with 1 slip stitch into every chain. We've just made our way down with our first row. Now we're going to connect it into the base. So what we're going to do is finding that next available stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch. Now that slip stitch doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then, to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that following stitch into the base. Still doesn't count as a stitch, and flip our work. And from here, put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. So, finding that last stitch from our previous row, not working into any of those slip stitches into the base, we're going to insert into that back loop, or the loop that's furthest away from us. Then yarn over, and gently pull through everything on our hook, and that's it. Continue with 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. At the end of the row, chain 1. Flip our work, and then put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch again, and I'll meet you back at the end of our row 3. We've just completed our first 3 rows. Now we're just going to connect it into the base. So, just like how we did for our previous row, find that next available stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch, still doesn't count as a stitch. Since we're here, we might as well work our way up to the following row as well, so slip stitch into that next stitch into the base, flip our work, and repeat. From here, continue to repeat our 2 previous rows, making our way all the way around, and we don't have any more stitches left to work into. I'll meet you back so we can seam it together. We are back. We've just made our way all the way around with our back loop slip stitch rows with no increases and no decreases. Now we're going to seam it together. Now this seam is going to be an outside loop slip stitch seam to make it look like another back loop slip stitch row. So for this seam, we're going to make sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up, then insert our hook into the corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. Then we're just going to pull our working yarn through. Next, we're going to find that first available stitch into the front panel and insert only in through that front loop. Next available stitch into the back panel, insert only in through that back loop. Then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Once more, next stitch into the front panel, insert in through that front loop, next stitch into the back panel, insert in through that back loop, then yarn over and pull through everything on our hook. Continue doing this until we don't have any more stitches left to work into. When we don't, do a chain up 1 cut and repeat on the other side. But we are back. We have just completed both of our cuffs. Now what we're going to do from here is our bottom band. So first things first, we're going to make sure the work is flipped right side out, right side up. Then we're going to insert our hook into any one of the side rows along the bottom of our piece. Then all we're going to do is alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets into every side row, making our way all the way around. Now since we already know how to do that, I'm going to leave you guys to it, but just as a really quick tip, this single crochet row is going to be as wide as this portion can stretch. So once when it's completed, go ahead and try your piece on. If it's a little bit too tight, reduce some stitches with a looser grip, or if it's too loose, reduce some stitches with a tighter grip. Now that our single crochet row is complete, the next we're going to do is do our bottom band, which is going to be done exactly the same way as our cuffs. So once we slip stitch into that chain space, we're all going to make a chain the length that we'd like for our bottom band to be. I'd like for mine to be just about 2 inches or 5 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 10, then do our back loop slip stitch rows with no increases, no decreases, make our way all the way around, and then I'll meet you back so we can seam it together. So we've made our way all the way around with our bottom band. We don't have any more stitches left to work into, so we're going to seam it together, but the seam is going to be the same seam that we did for the cuffs. So to talk you guys through it, making sure that our work is slipped right side out, right side up, we're all going to do our outside loop slip stitch seam to make it look like another back loop slip stitch row. When we don't have any more stitches left, do a chain up a 1 and cut, and I'll meet you back. So now that our bottom band is complete, the last thing we're going to do is our neckline. So we're going to start with a single crochet row, and we're going to start by making sure that our work is slipped right side out, right side up, and we're going to insert our hook into any one of the side rows that we have along the back of our neckline. And working only into the back of the neckline, we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every side row. So go ahead and pull through and do a chain up of 1 to secure. Then from here, start by finding our first side row. This is mine right here. I'm going to insert, starting with just 1 single crochet. Into our next side row, find that top loop, insert with another single crochet. Pretty simple. We're going to continue doing this until we make our way all the way down. Then working into our sleeve, we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every stitch. Then into the top of the cups, alternate between 1 to 2 single crochet into every side row. Go ahead and make your way all the way around, and then I'll meet you back. So we are back. We have just completed our single crochet row along our neckline. Now we're going to finish this off by doing another back loop slip stitch band, so same as our cuff and our bottom band, just to clean this up. So from where we're at, we're all going to make a chain the length that we'd like for our collar to be. Now I'd like for my collar to be just about a 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter, so I'm going to start by making a chain 3, then just do my same back loop slip stitch rows, make my way all the way around with no increases, no decreases. Then I'll meet you back to seam everything together. So now that we've made our way all the way around with our back loop slip stitch rows, we are all done. Now we're going to do our same outside loop slip stitch seam that we did for the cuff and the bottom band, so go ahead and get that done. Once when it's completed, we are all done. The last thing we're going to have to do is just weave in all of our ends. And there you have it. Hope y'all enjoyed the tutorial. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. Those links are down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Catch you on the next one. Bye!